Have you ever stopped to consider what happens when an entire society turns its back on the very foundation that built it, the strength, sacrifice, and protection provided by men for generations? What if the slow erosion of masculinity, fueled by decades of blame, emasculation, and systemic attack, isn't just a cultural shift, but the precursor to total collapse, leaving everyone, especially those who cheered it on, facing a harsh reality they can no longer escape? Stick with me to the very end because by the time we're done, you'll see exactly why millions of men are quietly walking away forever and why no amount of pleading will ever bring them back. And trust me, the revelations get even more eye opening as we go deeper into the evidence and the consequences unfolding right now. If you're fired up by real talk like this, the kind that cuts through the noise and hits the core of what's breaking our world, then smash that like button, share this video with every man you know who needs to hear it, and subscribe right now for more no holds barred angry guy content that pulls zero punches. And listen, if you're serious about taking control of your financial future in these chaotic times, head over to Angry's Crypto Academy today. It's where I teach you step by step how to buy, sell, trade crypto the right way, protect your assets from the coming economic storm, and actually build real wealth that no one can take from you. The link is right there in the description. So pause this video if you have to and go check it out now. Your future self will thank you. Let me paint a picture for you, one that's unfolding in real time across social media, in households, in workplaces, and in the crumbling structures of what used to be a functioning society. For decades, we've been fed this narrative that men are the problem, that masculinity is toxic, that the way to empower one group is to dismantle, demonize, and destroy the other. And it worked, didn't it? Laws changed, culture shifted, incentives flipped upside down, and men were pushed out, marginalized, accused, drained, and discarded like yesterday's trash. False allegations became weapons. Family courts became battlegrounds where men lost everything: their children, their savings, their homes, their reputations, all while being told to man up and take it. Universities turned into echo chambers, vilifying male energy. Media portrayed fathers as bumbling idiots or outright villains, and anywhere a man tried to stand tall, there was a chorus ready to shout him down. I used to watch it happen and think, okay, maybe some adjustments were needed, maybe there was imbalance in the past, but what we've witnessed isn't correction, it's conquest. And the spoils went to those who waged the war. Unprecedented access to careers without the old barriers, government programs stepping in as surrogate providers, the welfare state expanding to fill the void left by walking away from traditional roles. Women were told they didn't need men, that independence was the ultimate goal, that relying on a husband was weakness, that the state and society would always have their back. Trade in the protector, the provider, the builder for handouts and hashtags. And for a while, it looked like victory, high fiving over divorce settlements, celebrating the decline of marriage rates as liberation, mocking men who complained as fragile egos, unable to handle strong women. But here's where the story takes a dark turn, brothers. That victory was built on a foundation of sand, and the tide is coming in fast. The global economy isn't just stumbling, it's teetering on the edge of something far worse than the Great Depression. Supply chains fractured, inflation raging like a wildfire no one can control, food prices doubling, tripling in some places, making a simple grocery run feel like a luxury. Rent, forget about it. Skyrocketing to levels where even dual incomes barely cover the basics, assuming you can find a place at all. The welfare state that was supposed to be the eternal safety net, it's fraying at the edges, bloated, broke, and unable to keep the promises it made when times were flush. And now the awakening is happening. Scroll through TikTok, Reddit, any platform where people spill their unfiltered thoughts, and you'll see it. Women posting in panic, realizing that the chaos they helped create isn't sustainable without the very men they spent years pushing away. Threads begging other women to change, to soften, to entice men back because society is crumbling without them. Admissions that destroying men didn't empower anyone, it just left a void that nothing else can fill. They're seeing their gains evaporate, the career ladder turning into a treadmill, the independence turning into isolation, the freedom turning into fear as reality crashes through the illusions. Think about it like this: men have always been the buffer between women and the brutal edges of the world. We built the houses, fought the wars, tamed the land, fixed the problems, took the risks so others didn't have to. Nature designed it that way for a reason. Men are expendable in the raw calculus of survival. Women are the limiting factor for the next generation. So men shield, provide, protect. But when you remove the incentives for men to do that, when you punish them for it, when you tell them their role is obsolete or oppressive, what do you expect? They walk. And that's exactly what's happened. Millions of men have gone their own way, checked out, built lives that don't revolve around caping for a society that hates them. These women polled, remember that viral nonsense? Would you rather encounter a bear in the woods or a strange man? Overwhelmingly, the bear. Painting all men as inherent threats, monsters lurking, while ignoring the statistics that show who's actually keeping the lights on, the streets safe, the infrastructure running. Fine, you chose the bear. Enjoy the picnic basket with Yogi and Boo Boo because the men you vilified aren't coming to save you from the consequences of your choices. No white knights riding in to bail out the system that chewed them up. No returning to the plantation just because the overseers are starting to feel the heat. It's almost poetic in a tragic way. Their grandmothers, growing up in a pre feminist era, had stability, families, communities, men who committed because society rewarded it. No, it wasn't perfect. Nothing is. But there was order, purpose, mutual dependence that held everything together. Now, after all the so-called progress, women are facing the prospect of having less security, less prosperity, less protection than those generations they look down on. The irony is thick enough to choke on. And the begging has started. Posts everywhere. We need to bring men back. We need to change our attitudes. We went too far. Act quickly, sisters, before it's too late. But here's the cold, hard truth I'm laying down for you today: it's already too late. Men walking away aren't coming back because some viral threads say pretty please. The trust is shattered. The risks are too high. The rewards non existent. Why risk false accusations, financial ruin, emotional vampire draining for what? A pat on the head and a thank you for being a good utility. Let me tell you a story to drive this home because stories stick better than statistics sometimes. I knew a guy, solid dude, hardworking, the kind who would give you the shirt off his back. Married young, built a life, kids, house, the whole dream. Then one day, she decides she's not happy, trades up, or just trades out, files for divorce, cleans him out in court. He loses primary custody because, well, that's how it goes too often, pays child support that leaves him scraping by, alimony on top like salt in the wound, works two jobs to keep up, sees his kids every other weekend if she's feeling generous. Years of this, depression kicking in, friends telling him to man up, society calling him deadbeat if he complains. Finally, he hits rock bottom, decides enough is enough, goes monk mode, focuses on himself, gym, skills, crypto trades on the side, builds a small nest egg no one can touch, starts feeling human again. And guess what? X comes sniffing around years later, economy tight, her choices not panning out, wants to reconcile for the kids, she says. He laughs politely and keeps walking. That's the microcosm of the macro brothers. Multiply that by millions. Women traded reliable men for the illusion of state provision, for the dopamine hits of validation without responsibility. But the state is a cold provider at best, and it's failing now. can't print money forever without consequences, can't import infinite labor without breaking the social contract, can't ignore biology and economics indefinitely. Rents don't pay themselves. Groceries don't appear by manifesto. Safety doesn't come from slogans. And when the checks bounce, when the power grid flickers because no one's maintaining it passionately anymore, when the streets get a little meaner because the civilizing force has withdrawn. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. That's when the reality hits home. They're rushing now, some of them trying to lock down whatever man is left standing, but the good ones, the high value ones, the ones who saw the writing on the wall, gone, building brotherhoods elsewhere, expatriating, ghosting the matrix entirely. And the ones who might stick around, they're demanding terms that flip the script entirely, or they're just pumping and dumping because why invest seriously in a rigged game? This isn't bitterness talking, this is observation from the front lines. I've seen the DMs, the comments, the emails from men who are on the edge, ready to check out permanently until they realized walking away is the ultimate power move. And from women waking up too late, admitting the feminism they swallowed hook, line, and sinker left them hollow. Society collapsing? Look around. Birth rates plummeting, marriages at historic lows, mental health crisis exploding, especially among the young women who were sold the lie hardest. If you want to destroy a nation, start with its men. Make them weak, distracted, despondent. And the fastest way? Turn the women against them. Let hypergamy run unchecked. Let resentment fester until the bonds snap. Then watch as the women, left to their own devices, without the structure men provide, flail in the wilderness they demanded. Nature doesn't care about ideologies. It cares about what works for survival and propagation. And what we've done is anti-nature on a civilizational scale. But let me slow down here for a moment because I want you to really absorb this next part. Imagine society as a ship. Men were the ones below deck, stoking the engines, patching the hull, steering through storms. Women, protected in the cabins, enjoying the voyage. Then one day, the passengers decide the crew is oppressive, start sabotaging the engines, throwing the navigators overboard, celebrating as mutiny. For a while, the ship drifts on momentum, everyone partying on deck. But momentum runs out. Storms come, leaks spring, and now the same voices that led the mutiny are screaming for someone to fix it, to man the pumps, to chart the course. But the crew? They're in lifeboats, rowing away, watching from a distance, not out of spite, but self-preservation. And those lifeboats are getting farther every day, and that's where we are. The chaos created isn't just personal, it's systemic. Economies don't run on feelings. Infrastructures don't maintain themselves on empowerment seminars. Protection doesn't come from hoping the bear is friendly. Women aren't designed biologically, evolutionarily, to thrive in isolation from male provision and protection on a mass scale. Pair bonding, family units, that's the blueprint that got us here as a species. Deviate too far, and collapse follows. And now, with everything slipping away faster than anyone predicted, the pleas are getting desperate. But desperation isn't attractive, it's a warning sign. Men have learned the hard way. Rescue at your own peril. Bailouts come with chains. No more caping, no more simping for a system that views you as disposable. And there's the part that nobody wants to say out loud, but everybody feels in their gut this isn't fixable with an apology video. This isn't fixable with "we'll do better, Kings." The damage is generational. The trust isn't just broken, it's been pulverized, set on fire, and the ashes scattered into the wind. Men have spent years watching their fathers destroyed, their brothers ruined, their friends swallowed whole by a system that rewarded betrayal and punished loyalty. You think a few TikToks of women crying about loneliness is going to reverse that? You think a couple of viral threads saying, maybe we went too far, is going to make millions of men suddenly forget the courtroom nightmares, the child support garnishment, the suicide statistics, the false allegations that ended careers overnight? No, that bell can't be unrung. Let me take you back a step so you can see how perfectly this trap was set. Picture the 1960s and 70s. Men come home from building the greatest economic boom the world had ever seen. They fought wars, laid highways, sent rockets to the moon, built suburbs, factories, power grids, literally constructed the modern world with their hands and their lives. And what did they get for it? Told they were the oppressors, told the system they bled for was a patriarchy designed to keep women down, told that their sacrifices weren't noble, they were toxic, told that providing and protecting wasn't love, it was control. And the craziest part, a huge chunk of them believed it. They raised their daughters to believe men were the enemy, and they raised their sons to hate themselves for existing. Fast forward, those daughters grew up, entered the workforce, got the degrees, got the HR jobs, got the judgeships, got the media positions, got the political power. And what was the first thing they did with that power? They weaponized it. Family court became a wealth transfer machine. Title IX offices on campuses became kangaroo courts, where a man is guilty until proven innocent. And even then, he's still guilty. Me Too turned into a public execution tool where accusation equaled conviction, and due process was called misogyny. Men started losing jobs, reputations, freedom, everything on the word of a woman who decided she regretted something 6 years later or wanted leverage in a breakup. And society cheered. I want you to really let this next part sink in. In the United States alone, men are 10 times more likely to be falsely accused of a sex crime than women are to be murdered by a partner. 10 times. Yet, which one dominates the headlines? Which one gets billions in funding, awareness months, campus seminars, government task forces? Now, stack on top of that the everyday grind. Men working the most dangerous jobs, dying younger, killing themselves at 4 times the rate of women, being homeless at far higher numbers, dropping out of education, addicted to porn and video games because real world intimacy became a legal minefield. And through all of it, the message was consistent: man up, your pain doesn't matter. You're privileged. Check your privilege. Toxic masculinity. Believe women. Men are trash. So men did the only rational thing left. They stopped playing. They stopped caping. They stopped proposing. They stopped enlisting. They stopped inventing at the same pace. They stopped showing up, quiet quitting on a civilizational level. And now the bill is coming due, and the people who wrote the checks with other people's blood are shocked that the account is empty. Let me read you something I saved from a woman's post that blew up last month. This is verbatim. Ladies, we have to have an emergency meeting. Men are gone. Like, actually gone. They're not dating. They're not marrying. They're not even sleeping with us anymore unless we're in the top tier of looks and behavior. And even then, it's casual. The decent guys have all checked out. They're lifting, stacking money, traveling with their boys, and laughing at us. We broke the social contract and now we're holding the bag. We need to fix this before we all end up alone with cats and box wine. That post had 2 million views, and the comments were a war zone. Half the women were attacking her for betraying the sisterhood. The other half were in tears admitting she was right. And the men were just liking the post and keep scrolling. That's how over it we are. You see, walking away isn't anger anymore. It's peace. It's the first real peace a lot of us have felt in years. No more walking on eggshells. No more performing emotional labor for people who hate you. No more pouring your life force into a black hole that calls you a monster for expecting basic respect. Just gym, money, mission, brotherhood, crypto gains, passport stamps, sunrise on a beach somewhere. The laws haven't gone insane yet. That's the new dream. And it's a dream women aren't invited to unless they bring something so extraordinary to the table that the risk becomes worth it again. And let's be honest, almost none do. I want to tell you about another brother I know personally. Let's call him Marcus. Marcus was the definition of a high value man. 6'3", jacked, software engineer, making low seven figures, owned 2 properties outright, no debt, spoke 3 languages, volunteered coaching kids basketball on weekends. The kind of man every mother says she wants for her daughter. He dated a girl for 4 years, proposed, planned the wedding, put her through grad school while paying all the bills. 2 weeks after the honeymoon, she tells him she's not feeling it anymore and wants an open marriage. He says no. She files for divorce, claims emotional abuse, gets half his assets, gets the dog, gets spousal support for 6 years because the judge said Marcus has the ability to earn. Marcus lost everything he worked a decade for in 9 months. He moved into a studio apartment, started therapy, almost ended it all. Then one day he woke up, deleted social media, flew to Thailand, trained Muay Thai for a year, built an AI consulting business that runs remotely, and now lives between Lisbon and Medellin with zero plans to ever marry again or even cohabit. Last time I spoke to him, he said, "Bro, I make more money than ever, sleep with whoever I want, zero drama, zero fear of losing it all tomorrow. I'm never going back. They can keep the West." Multiply Marcus by hundreds of thousands. That's the exodus. That's the red pill pipeline in action. And every month it accelerates because every month another man watches his buddy get destroyed and says, "Not me." Now the economy is doing the rest of the work for us. Inflation is eating savings alive. Real wages haven't budged in 20 years for most people. 2 incomes can't buy what 1 income bought in 1980. So even the women who have it all, the career, the degree, the girl boss energy, are staring at rent that takes 60% of their paycheck and realizing Mr. Right isn't coming because Mr. Right looked at the math and said, "Why the hell would I sign up for this prison sentence?" Marriage is now a terrible deal for men. You get half the house you pay for, half time with kids you raise, and a 50% chance of explosive divorce where you lose everything and still pay her for the privilege of getting wrecked. No fault divorce turned marriage into a lottery where she can cash out anytime she's bored. Who in their right mind signs that contract? And please spare me the not all women speech. We know. We're not mad at women as a biological category. We're responding rationally to incentives created by a feminist, legal, and cultural framework that turned women into loaded weapons aimed at men's lives. The good women, the feminine, kind, loyal ones, are collateral damage in this war, and that's tragic. But the solution isn't men returning to the battlefield to get mowed down again. The solution is women cleaning their own house, dismantling the machine they built, and proving over a long period of time that the risk is gone. And even then, most men will still say thanks, but no thanks, because freedom tastes too sweet now. Let's talk about the bear thing again because it was the perfect Freudian slip. When 90% of women say they'd rather meet a bear in the woods than a random man, what they're really saying is, I have been taught to view every man as a potential rapist and killer. That's not an opinion, that's blood libel against half the population. And then they turn around and wonder why those same men won't rush into a burning building to save them. You called us monsters, ladies. Monsters don't play hero. I saw a clip the other day of a woman on a podcast literally crying because she's 34, successful, beautiful by most standards, and can't get a single commitment from a man who isn't broke or dysfunctional. The host asked her, what she brings to the table besides looks and a salary. And she had nothing. No cooking, no nurturing, no peace, no femininity, just attitude and expectations. Men aren't avoiding her because she's too strong. Men are avoiding her because she offers the same thing a man already has: stress, bills, and drama, but with extra legal liability. Why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free and not risk losing your farm? The data backs all of this up harder than people want to admit. Marriage rates are at the lowest levels ever recorded. Birth rates in the West are catastrophic. Sperm counts are down 60% in 50 years. Male testosterone levels have plummeted. 63% of men under 30 are single compared to 34% of women the same age. That gap is a screaming alarm. Women are dating across and up, men are dating down or out entirely. The sexual marketplace is more lopsided than it's ever been. And instead of adapting, a huge percentage of women have doubled down on entitlement while offering less value than their grandmothers who at least knew how to create a home. And the state is broke. The golden parachute that replaced husbands is tearing apart mid flight. Social Security is projected to be insolvent in less than 10 years. Welfare rolls are already straining. When the money printer finally breaks, and it will, there will be no surrogate husband left. No more EBT daddy, no more Section 8 sugar daddy, no more child support checks for kids you barely see. Just reality, raw and unfiltered. That's when the real panic will set in. When the lights flicker, because the men who used to work overtime maintaining the grid are living in Thailand, making six figures remote. When the shelves are empty, because the truck drivers and warehouse workers checked out. When the crime spikes, because the cops who took the abuse for decades decided it's not worth the risk anymore. When the innovation stops, because the engineers and entrepreneurs said, why build if they're just going to take it? We're already seeing the previews. Power outages that last days instead of hours, supply chain breakdowns that never fully recover, cities that can't keep the streets safe because recruitment is in the toilet. And every time it happens, another 100,000 men look around, shrug, and book a one way ticket out. This is what collapse looks like. It doesn't always come with tanks in the street. Sometimes it comes with quiet apartments full of single women and cats wondering where all the good men went, while those good men are on a beach laughing, finally free. I want you to picture something very specific right now. Close your eyes for a second and imagine walking through any major Western city in 2030, just 5 short years from today. The sidewalks are cracked because the maintenance crews are running at 40% staffing, mostly older guys who haven't retired yet. The power goes out for 8, 10 hours at a time, not because of storms, but because the younger linemen never replaced the ones who left. Grocery store shelves have that permanent half empty look, not from panic buying, but because the truck drivers who used to haul 80 hours a week looked at child support garnishment on 70% of their check and said, nah, I'll deliver in Poland instead. The police response time in some neighborhoods is measured in hours, not minutes, because the academy classes are 12 recruits deep when they need 200. And on every corner, you see women in their late 30s and early 40s pushing strollers alone, or more often, not pushing strollers at all, because the fertility window slammed shut while they were waiting for the right time that never came. That's not dystopian fiction. That's the trajectory we are already on, and the numbers don't lie. South Korea is the canary in the coal mine. Birth rate 0.72 and still falling. Entire school districts closing because there are no children. Men completely checked out. Women openly panicking on television saying, where are all the men? While the men are in gyms, in crypto discords, in overseas apartments, or just quietly living minimal lives under the radar. Japan tried to fix it with money, free daycare, tax breaks, and it barely moved the needle. Because incentives, brothers, you can't pay men enough to sign up for a lifetime of risk when the downside is total annihilation and the upside is a woman who resents you for earning more than her and still expects you to do half the dishes. Let me drop another story on you that will chill you to the bone because it's happening to someone I know right now. As I record this on November 21st, 2025. His name is Ryan. Ryan is 42, former Marine, built like a tank, runs a successful plumbing business, net worth north of 3 million, never married, no kids. He dated a 29-year-old elementary school teacher for 2 years. Sweet girl on the surface, talked about wanting a big family, went to church, the whole package. Ryan was cautious, did everything right, separate finances, no cohabitation, ironclad prenup drafted by the best attorney in the state. They get married last year. 6 months in, she starts picking fights over nothing, withholding sex, classic branch swinging behavior. Ryan finds text messages on her phone proving she's been sleeping with a married coworker for months. He confronts her, she cries, apologizes, says it was a mistake, begs to go to counseling. Ryan, being a stand up guy, agrees. And 2 weeks later, he gets served with a protective order. She claimed he threw her against a wall and threatened to kill her. Zero evidence, no police report, no bruises, nothing. Judge grants temporary order anyway because better safe than sorry. Ryan is kicked out of his own house, can't go within 500 feet, can't see his dogs, has to surrender his firearms, even though he's a veteran with a spotless record. The divorce filing comes the next day claiming extreme cruelty and asking for lifetime alimony because she gave up her career potential to be his wife for 8 months. The kicker? She's still living in his paid off house rent free while the case drags on, running up credit cards in his name that somehow got added to joint accounts he never agreed to. Ryan's attorney says even with the prenup, it's going to cost him minimum $800,000 and 2 years of his life to get out of this. He looked me dead in the eye last week and said, if I could go back, I would never have even dated her. I would have stayed single forever. The juice ain't worth the squeeze, man. Not even close. That's 2025, gentlemen. That's today. And Ryan is one of the smart ones. He had money, lawyers, awareness, a prenup. Most men have none of that. Most men walk into the buzzsaw blind and wake up broke, broken, and wondering how life turned into a nightmare so fast. So when women post their little "where have all the good men gone" videos with that filtered cry face to spare me, the good men are exactly where you force them to go, as far away from you as humanly possible. I need you to understand something on a visceral level. This is not reversible in our lifetime. Even if tomorrow every feminist organization disbanded, every family court judge was replaced, every law was rewritten, the cultural memory doesn't forget. Men have seen what happens. We have group chats with thousands of horror stories. We have divorce rape compilations. We have suicide note screenshots from guys who couldn't take one more day of being treated like a criminal for wanting to see their children. That trauma is generational now. The sons watching their fathers destroyed are 30 years old today. You think they're lining up to get married because some influencer said, girls, we need to be nicer? Hell no. They're getting passports. They're stacking Bitcoin. They're lifting weights and learning game so they can spin plates in countries where women still smile when a man walks into the room. And the women who are waking up, they're not the ones who caused the problem. The ones who caused it are still in denial, still screaming about patriarchy, while they ride the carousel into their late 30s and then wonder why the wall hit them like a freight train. The ones waking up are the younger ones, the 22s to 27s who are watching their older sisters and aunts end up alone and terrified, and they're trying to course correct. Good for them. Some of them will make it. A few will find a man who hasn't completely sworn off the West, but most won't because the numbers are brutal. For every feminine, pleasant, low body count 24-year-old who gets it, there are 50 who still think they're the prize at 35, with 3 kids from 3 different fathers and a list of demands longer than a CVS receipt. Let's talk about those demands for a minute because this is where the delusion reaches terminal velocity. I saw a viral post last week from a 38-year-old single mom with her master's degree making 80,000 a year demanding a man who makes minimum 250,000, no kids of his own, over 6 feet tall, works out daily, emotionally available but not needy, leads but also does 50% of the housework, wants to pay for everything, but respects her independence. The comments were men just pasting laughing emojis in the bear meme. Because why would any man meeting those criteria choose her when he can fly to Colombia for a long weekend and meet 20, 22-year olds who cook, clean, adore him, and don't come with a laundry list of trauma and baggage? That's the new global sexual marketplace, fellas. Planes and the internet broke the local monopoly women had for decades. High value men aren't settling for entitled Western women anymore. They're going where they're celebrated, not tolerated. Dubai, Thailand, Philippines, Colombia, Brazil, Eastern Europe. The list keeps growing. And every year the quality goes up and the prices go down because more men are voting with their feet. I know guys who sold everything, moved abroad, and live like kings on 3,000 a month while dating women who look like Instagram models and treat them like gods. And back home, their exes are posting thirst traps to dead comment sections, wondering why the likes stopped coming. The welfare state that replaced husbands is collapsing under its own weight. America's national debt is $36 trillion and climbing a trillion every 100 days. Interest payments alone are now larger than the defense budget. When the music stops, and it will stop, there will be no more unlimited EBT, no more Section 8 waiting lists that actually get answered, no more free money for single mothers who decided having kids was a lifestyle choice. Greece 2015 will look like a picnic compared to what's coming when the dollar loses reserve status and hyperinflation kicks in. You think men are going to rush back to save the women who called them oppressors when the grocery store is charging $300 for a dozen eggs? You think we're going to rebuild when we weren't even allowed to have a say in how it was torn down? No. We're going to watch from afar. Some of us literally from other countries, some of us from quiet apartments with our investments and our peace. We're going to watch the system that hated us eat itself alive, and we're not going to feel 1 ounce of guilt because we offered solutions. We begged for fairness in the courts. We asked for mutual respect. We pointed out the demographic cliff 20 years before we sailed off it. And we were called misogynists, incels, fragile egos, toxic. The list goes on. So be it. I want to read you one last post that perfectly sums up where we are right now. This is from a woman on Reddit 2 days ago, and it's blowing up in all the red pill spaces. Sisters, we lost. We actually lost the plot. My mom had a husband who worked 60 hours a week so she could stay home with us. I have a master's degree, my own apartment, and 3 cats. I'm 36, and I've never had a man love me the way my dad loved my mom. I spent my 20s chasing careers and experiences, and now I cry myself to sleep because it's so quiet in here. We were sold a lie that we could have it all, but we can't. Not without men who are willing to give everything, and we spend decades telling them they're worthless. I don't know how to fix this. I just know we broke something that can't be put back together. That's the sound of the wall, not just hitting, but shattering women into pieces. And the men reading it, we feel nothing, not because we're monsters, but because we've been numb for years just to survive. The roads all lead to the same place now. Men walking away isn't a movement, it's the new normal. It's the rational response to a civilization that declared war on its own foundation. And no amount of crying, no amount of come back, we need you, no amount of shaming is going to reverse it. The trust is gone. The social contract is shredded. The future belongs to the men who refuse to go down with the ship. The reckoning is already here. It's just moving in slow motion, so most people haven't felt the full weight of it yet. But the men on the front lines feel it every single day. The ones who lost half their retirement to a woman who decided she was unfulfilled after 10 years. The ones paying 65% of their paycheck in child support and alimony while sleeping in their truck because rent is impossible on what's left. The ones who haven't seen their children in 18 months because a judge decided the mother's emotional well being trumps a father's basic human rights. The ones who swallowed a bullet because the pain of being erased was worse than the darkness. Those men aren't abstract statistics. They're fathers, brothers, sons, friends, and every single one of them is a permanent data point burned into the collective memory of every man still standing. That's why no pep talk, no man up sermon, no trad wife influencer in a prairie dress baking sourdough is moving the needle. We've seen behind the curtain. We know the script. We know that even the good ones can flip a switch the moment the boredom sets in, or a richer, taller, darker, whatever option slides into the DMs. We know that the laws are still stacked like a Vegas casino against us. We know that society will cheer our destruction and call it justice. So we opted out, not out of weakness, out of strength. The strongest thing a man can do in this environment is refuse to participate in his own destruction. Let me tell you about the quiet revolution happening right under everyone's noses. There are private discords, telegram groups, forums with tens of thousands of men sharing notes, the best countries for residency, the cleanest passports, the remote income stacks that can't be garnished, the surgeons in Turkey and Thailand for hair and teeth, the language apps, the gym routines, the crypto wallets that stay cold and hidden. These aren't bitter incels in basements. These are doctors, engineers, tradesmen, veterans, entrepreneurs, men who used to be the backbone, now building parallel lives where their labor, their protection, their resources flow only to people who actually value them. No more free rides, no more unpaid security, no more building empires for people who will hand them over in divorce court with a smile. And the best part, it's invisible to the mainstream. The media still thinks MG Tao is some fringe Reddit thing from 2016. They have no idea the scale. They have no idea that pilots, power grid engineers, cybersecurity experts, surgeons, men who literally keep civilization running are quietly restructuring their lives to be untouchable. Firefighters who used to run into burning buildings now look at the divorce statistics and say, why risk my life for a society that treats me like a villain? Police officers walking away in droves because they're tired of being hated by the public and hated by their own department for being male. Military recruitment in the toilet because young men watch their dads come home from Iraq missing limbs only to lose everything to a cheating wife back home. The system is eating its seed corn and wondering why nothing's growing. Women are starting to feel the cold. Not just the loneliness, the actual physical and economic cold. The heat bill they can't pay because the guy who used to handle that is gone. The flat tire at 2 a.m. with no one to call who isn't a potential rapist bear. The creeping realization that their fathers and grandfathers spoiled the ever living hell out of their mothers and grandmothers, and now that safety net has been shredded. Their grandmothers had men who would work 3 jobs to keep the lights on. They have apps that ghost them after sex, and a government that's broke. Their grandmothers had communities, churches, neighbors who showed up. They have Instagram followers who like their pain for the algorithm. And I want to read you a message I got 2 nights ago from a 28-year-old woman who found my channel. This is word for word. Angry, I'm scared. I bought the lie. I have a degree, a good job. I partied through my 20s, slept with more guys than I can count because body count doesn't matter and men will love you anyway. Now, I'm almost 30, and every guy I meet who's worth anything treats me like entertainment at best. The decent ones won't even take me on a real date. I cry every night because I want a family, and I blew it. My mom tells me to freeze my eggs and keep boss babing, but I don't want that. I want what my grandma had. Please tell the men we're sorry. Tell them some of us get it now. I didn't reply. Not because I'm cruel, but because what is there to say? The time for apologies was 10 years ago, when men were screaming warnings into the void and got called every name in the book. Now it's too late for most of them. Biology is the ultimate red pill, And the reaper doesn't negotiate. The same society that told her, "You go, girl, live your truth," is the one that will watch her age out of the game in real time and then blame men for not wanting damaged goods. Brutal? Yes. Reality? Absolutely. And before anyone says not all women, let's be crystal clear. The good women, the feminine, loyal, low mileage keepers are already locked down. They got snatched up years ago by the men who still believed. The ones left screaming into the void are overwhelmingly the ones who spent a decade treating men like disposable utilities and now want us to forget so they can cash in before the clock hits zero. Hard pass. Let's talk about the economic fallout nobody wants to touch with a 10-foot pole. The average Western woman today needs a man who earns in the top 10% just to replicate the lifestyle her grandmother had with a blue collar husband in the 1970s. One income bought a house, two cars, four kids, vacations, and a stay at home wife. Today, two incomes barely cover rent and DoorDash, and yet the expectations haven't adjusted down. They've skyrocketed. She wants the six-figure man, the 6 foot height, the six pack, the emotional intelligence of a therapist, the leadership of a captain, and the patience of a saint, all while she brings debt, attitude, and a past that would make a rock star blush. That man exists. He's in a Bali right now with a 23-year-old local girl who thinks he hung the moon and cooks him breakfast naked. The passport bros aren't a meme. They're the vanguard. And every month, another plane load of men lands in Medellin, Bangkok, Cebu, Warsaw, and never looks back. They're not running from women. They're running toward sanity, toward peace, toward a world where masculinity is celebrated instead of criminalized, where a man's provision is met with gratitude instead of entitlement, where family courts don't exist to destroy you, where a woman's femininity is her superpower instead of something she was taught to hate. And the women back home, they're about to learn the hardest lesson of all. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. They wanted independence. Congratulations. They're about to get it good and hard. No more male taxpayers subsidizing their choices. No more male utility keeping the lights on while they scroll Tinder. No more male sacrifice bailing out a society that spit in their face. When the dollar collapses and the grocery store looks like Caracas, when the power grid flickers because the men who knew how to fix it are sipping coconuts on a beach, when the streets aren't safe because the men who used to enforce order decided their own safety matters more. That's when the full weight of what was destroyed will hit like a tsunami. I'm not celebrating anyone's pain. I'm stating facts. This is what happens when you declare war on nature, when you tell half the population they're obsolete oppressors and expect them to keep showing up anyway. When you remove every incentive for sacrifice and replace it with punishment, men didn't lose society. Society lost men. And once they're gone, they don't come back. You can't shame a man into slavery twice. So, to every brother watching this right now, keep walking, keep building, keep stacking, keep lifting, keep learning, keep your circle tight and your passport ready. Your peace is the most valuable asset you own. Guard it with your life. The world that hated you is crumbling, and it has nothing left to offer you but chains dressed up as duty. To the women who get it now, I wish you the best. I really do. Some of you will make it. Some of you will find a man who still has a shred of hope left. But most of you are going to have to live with the consequences of the culture you cheered on. And that's not cruelty, that's accountability. The ship is sinking. The lifeboats are full of men who finally learn to put themselves first. And from those lifeboats, we watch the lights go out one by one, not with hatred, but with the calm of men who saw the iceberg years ago and were called conspiracy theorists for pointing it out. All roads lead to MWA. The era of men caping for a society that despises them is over. The era of men building unbreakable lives on their own terms has just begun. And nothing, no begging, no shaming, no crisis is going to pull us back onto the plantation. We're free, and freedom, brothers, tastes better than anything they could ever offer again. What did you think about all this? Do you agree that men walking away is the point of no return, or do you see a way back? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get a real discussion going. Like the video if you liked it, don't forget to subscribe. And if you liked the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.